The Senzo Meyiwa murder trial has been adjourned until Monday as state witness Sergeant Thabo Mosia is ill. This morning, court proceedings began with an application for proceedings to be halted. This as defense advocate for 4 of the accused men, Malesela Teffo, brought an application stating that his clients had not been read their rights when they were arrested initially. Teffo claims that the 4 men appeared in an open court on the 27th of October without being told why they were taken. Proceedings, however, continued. Advocate for the 5th accused, Zandile Mshololo, began cross-examining the state witness, Sergeant Thabo Mosia. He is a forensic officer who was one of the first on the scene and tasked with collecting evidence from the Vosloorus crime scene. Mshololo has suggested that Mosia failed in his duties. This after he told the court that he failed to take a certain fingerprint and DNA swabs from the home of singer Kelly Khumalo's mother. Proceedings adjourned early because Mosia fell ill. Well, for more on this, let's cross now to my colleague, senior reporter Chriselda Lewis, who's been covering the case for us. A very good afternoon, Chriselda. Tell us more.
Well, that's right. The matter has been postponed to Monday. As you indicated, the court heard that the state's first witness, the forensic detective Thabo Mosia, who has been on the stand under cross-examination, is ill. What we heard from Advocate George Baloyi, who is the state prosecutor, that he has taken medication which he says is having an adverse effect on him. So the judge ruling there that the matter should stand down until Monday. And if Mosia is still ill on Monday, when he's due to be back on the stand again, the judge indicating that a second witness might take the stand if he still feels unwell. And indeed, as you correctly pointed out a bit earlier on, a bit of a twist when the matter got underway this morning. The advocate Malesela Teffo, who's for accused number 1 to number 4, indicating that he wanted to bring a trial within a trial because he says that his clients, accused number 1 and 2, were basically forced into confession, and says that their rights were not read. When they appeared in court in October of 2020, he says his clients didn't know why they were there. So he says he didn't want to continue with this matter until all of that was sorted out. However, the judge ruled otherwise. Let's take a listen.
Regarding both issues, I must say that they have not been properly brought before me. They came by way of evidence adduced by Advocate Teffo from the bar. And as a result, unfortunately, in that regard, they couldn't be said to be anything before me.
So, Chriselda, what can we expect come Monday if indeed Mr. Mosia remains unwell?
Well, as I indicated, Nompo, if Mosia is unwell, he will this court will then call a second witness who will testify in the matter if he is still unwell on Monday. That was indicated inside this court just before we adjourned. But also, Nompo, one of the crucial aspects that came out of this particular court, Mosia has revealed that he did not take swabs from any of the occupants in the house, and this would be gunshot residue. Now, what would usually happen in a case like this, where there's a shooting, the expectation would have been that Mosia, who was the first forensic detective on the scene, would have taken gunshot residue from the hands of those that were in the house. He told this court that he didn't do so because he was not instructed to do so by Brigadier Philani Ndlovu, who you would recall has since passed away. He passed away just shortly before this trial had started. And he says that he relied on what Brigadier Ndlovu had told him what to do. You would recall in this particular matter, several fingers have been pointed to Brigadier Ndlovu in that at some point Mosia had indicated he had handed the scene over to Brigadier Ndlovu, and Brigadier Ndlovu was the one who showed him where to take photographs. So, Zandile Mshololo, who is the advocate for accused number 5, asking, how did he simply rely on what he was being told by Brigadier Philani Ndlovu? Why didn't he do part of the investigation himself? Because in this particular aspect, he had told this court previously that he had taken over the scene. This is not the first time that seemingly Mosia had handed over the scene to Brigadier Philani Ndlovu, because at some point he also told this court as well that he was showed by a Brigadier, or told rather, by Brigadier Ndlovu where Senzo Meyiwa had been shot. But let's take a listen to the aspect within this court where he tells the court that he did not take any swabs or gunshot residue from the hands of the occupants that were in the house to determine if any of them had pulled the trigger.
Did you take from the people who were inside the house any gunshot residue from their hands in order to test if there is anyone who was inside the house when the incident took place who had fired shot?
No, I didn't do that.
One last question before I let you go, Chriselda. Brigadier Ndlovu, who you indicate passed away before the trial began, before he passed away, was he anticipated to be a witness at the case?
Well, Nombo, this is the main bone of contention here. You would remember that the National Prosecuting Authority, shortly after Brigadier Philani Ndlovu had passed away, many questions were asked about whether he was to appear in this court as a witness. The National Prosecuting Authority was fast to respond in saying that he was not going to be a witness in this matter. In fact, what we heard was that a statement had not even been taken from him. However, what we're hearing from this court now, he forms part of a critical part of what took place at the crime scene after Senzo Meyiwa had been killed. We heard from Mosia that he handed over the scene to Brigadier Philani Ndlovu at some point. He was showed where to take photographs by Brigadier Philani Ndlovu, and also Mosia says he did not test for any residue on the hands of those that were inside the house because Brigadier Philani Ndlovu did not tell him. He basically says he relied on all the information that he was given by Brigadier Philani Ndlovu, who was his senior. So, which points to the fact that Mosia did very little in terms of investigating on his own what exactly might have taken place when Senzo Meyiwa was killed. Also a crucial aspect as well, Nombo, we must point out, just before we adjourned as well, Advocate Zandile Mshololo, representing again accused number 5, asked him if he asked any of the occupants inside the house where Senzo Meyiwa was killed. He said he didn't do that. Asked why he didn't do it, he said he relied on information that he was given by Brigadier Philani Ndlovu, and the defense really pointing out or wanting to prove that Mosia did very little on the crime scene to establish on his own where this incident might have taken place, where Senzo Meyiwa was killed. The Advocate Zandile Mshololo asking who he asked where Senzo Meyiwa was shot. He said he asked Brigadier Philani Ndlovu, and he relied that was fact, that may have been true. He did not ask any of the occupants inside the house where Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed. So the defense really trying to point to Mosia having done very little to ask anyone in the house where Senzo Meyiwa was killed, what could have happened. In fact, he didn't interview any of them inside that house. And most crucially, he did not take any residue from the hands, gunshot residue from the hands of any of the individuals inside the house to establish if any of them might have pulled the trigger.
Very interesting indeed. Chriselda Lewis there reporting on the Senzo Meyiwa trial.